Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be checking out one of the first releases from Marvel Legends' all-new Infinity Saga, that being none other than the Iron Man Mark III, based on his appearance from the first MCU movie, Iron Man. Now, if we take a look here at the packaging, you can see this looks fantastic. I'm really excited to see some of the other figures that they have planned for this line, as well as some of the ones that are just around the corner as far as releases are concerned. They're essentially giving us a very similar wave to what we had with the 10th anniversary of the MCU, where they give us some of those characters that perhaps were incredibly inaccurate when they first released them, or characters that we just never got in the collection. I'm really glad to actually have this figure though, as I remember the first Mark III was certainly a lot weaker in comparison to some of the now modern day Marvel Legends figures, but nevertheless you can see here for the box it looks fantastic. Great window view display of the figure as well as all of his accessories. We've got that glorious Infinity Saga logo there, as well as Iron Man Mark III. As we spin around here to the side, you can see some fantastic artwork of some of the different Avengers. You can see here at the back we've got the poster for Iron Man 1, as well as a very brief bio on the movie, and here on the other side of the box we have a different piece of art showcasing yet again some of the other Avengers. So without further ado, let's crack this open and see what the first entry into the Infinity Saga has in store for us. And so, here we've got the all-new Iron Man Mark III opened up and out of the packaging, and dare I say this could potentially be the best MCU version of Iron Man that Hasbro have ever given us. I at least think so, especially in regards to the articulation and the engineering. Now, before we take a look at the actual figure himself, he comes with so many accessories. Surprisingly, no blast effects, which I actually think is a slight downside to this release, but we'll touch base with that later on in the review. In addition to the standard helmeted head, we actually do get an unmasked head. Now, this looks great. I believe this is one of the first times that we've gotten a proper RDJ head sculpt in a very long time, since that 10th anniversary line. I think the likeness for the most part is pretty decent, of course not spot on, but considering its placement in the helmet, I actually don't think it looks too bad. The paint's been applied really well, and from certain angles there is no denying that this is supposed to be Robert Downey Jr. You can see there the faceplate's been picked out in a really nice gold, and the overall sculpt work for this just looks fantastic in general. You can see that here we've got the masked version, very crisp sculpt, however very basic for an Iron Man Mark III design, and in order to actually swap this out, you guessed it, you just simply pop the head off of the double ball peg and then take this and snap that back onto place, and I think that looks really awesome, certainly recreating his look from the movie. We do get an alternate arm attachment, which is of course the two missiles. This looks great. You can see some nice paint there and very faithful looking to the film. You can of course remove this, which also reveals some interior detailing, some internal detailing I guess, which is something they didn't have to do, but I'm really glad they did. And then we can bring in this secondary attachment. You can see how this has also got some molded detailing on the underside. It does peg in over the top just like that, and you can once again see some really nice sculpt work on this, and I love how it breaks apart. It definitely makes the suit look incredibly realistic to the movie, and that is so awesome. Or you can actually swap it out for a complete neutral piece, just to have the arm in one coherent piece if you so desire. So just snap that in there and you can see it is very similar to the opposite side, which is awesome. We do get included a couple pair of hands, so we do get a repulsor blast pair as well as a pair of fisted hands. Sadly, these do not have the ports for you to actually peg any blast effects into, which I at least personally think is a big downfall. I would have loved to have been able to place some of those blast effects in these, but the sculpt work does look pretty decent. Perhaps they decided to leave that out so that the sculpt looked slightly better, and of course that you could actually see the repulsor blast instead of there just being an actual port in the hand. You can see some nice sculpt work going on there, as well as here for the back of the hands. There is no hinge joint on this, so it cannot hinge up and down. It can merely just rotate the full 360, whereas here with the fist we do actually get a hinge joint up and down, but you can see how the repulsor blast section hasn't been painted here for the fist. And that just about wraps it up as far as the accessories are concerned. As mentioned, I would have loved to have gotten some blast effects, but that is really just a minor critique for what is otherwise a really nicely done figure. Now you can see that as far as the actual detailing here for the torso goes, I think this is one of the best MCU arc reactors we've gotten from Hasbro so far. This looks so much better than some of their previous releases. It does appear as if though they're using that almost 3D printing technology actually stamped onto this. You can see how we've got a really nice pixelated fade around the edge. That definitely does look really awesome, and as mentioned I think is the best we've seen so far. But the suit has just been cast of a really awesome metallic red. It does look great. Even here at the back you can see some lovely detailing. Of course we've got the golden highlights there to match the appearance of the movie, but we've got all of these various different vents, and you've got the shoulder pads, very heavily armored. The Mark III is actually one of my favorite armor designs. I think in some of the later Avengers movies the suit just looked too CGI, really unrealistic, but here for the Mark III and then even the second Iron Man movie to an extent, I think the suits looked excellent. You can see here, really nice looking detail, and will no doubt absolutely obliterate the previous Iron Man Mark III that Hasbro did put out. You can see here for the base of the foot, this too has all been completely sculpted. It's a really awesome, really solid looking figure, and for those who are completionists of Iron Man, then of course you're going to have to add this one to the collection. As far as the articulation is concerned, we get a pretty decent range of motion here at the head, seeing as it is on a double ball peg, so it can look up to roughly that far, as well as can look down to a great extent. We can of course tilt left to right, rotate the full 360. The arms here are very stiff, at least here on my copy, although this one's slightly looser, so you can hinge these forwards and backwards, and the shoulder piece does actually rotate with them. I'm not entirely sure whether or not it's supposed to. You can see how that's a separate piece, and I do believe it is supposed to move along with the arm, but you can just see how stiff they are. I'm not entirely sure whether or not that's just an isolated issue on my copy, but it does feel sometimes as if I'm going to break it. They can of course hinge out to the sides, rotation here at the bicep, double joint here at the elbow, which can bend to a fantastic degree. We also do get an upper ab crunch, which can rotate the full 360, as well as of course crunch forwards and backwards. Not forwards all that much, sadly, but of course the suit is very big. Here for the waist, we unfortunately don't get anything, but we do get drop down hips, which is something that I've been asking from the Marvel Legends line for so long, ever since the G.I. Joe Classified series launched, so that's excellent. So they can hinge down to allow for a much greater range of motion kicking forwards, as well as of course back and out to the sides. We do get a rotation here at the thigh, as well as a fantastic double joint here at the knee, which can bend way past 90. That's excellent. And then here for the foot, this can pivot forwards and backwards, as well as of course rock side to side. And surprisingly, there actually aren't that many pin joints on this figure. Maybe they've just very convincingly hid them due to the nature of the suit design, but you can see no real visible pins here for the elbows. And despite these ones here, honestly, I think this is probably accurate to how the suit appeared in the movie. So as far as an actual Iron Man is concerned, I think this is excellent. I really do think this is one of the best ones that they've done so far, and I'm really excited to see how that upcoming Mark 85 that comes with the battle damage Thanos turns out, as that does also appear to have some modifications made to it when in comparison to its prior release. And so, some final thoughts here for the all-new Marvel Legends Infinity Saga Iron Man Mark III, based on, of course, the first Iron Man movie. I actually think this figure has turned out incredibly well, especially for what is, at least in the UK, the first release for this new line. I'm really excited to see how that upcoming Ironmonger turns out. I'm also really excited for that rescue. Pretty much all of the figures in this line look fantastic, and I'm so glad that this Mark III did turn out as well as it has. As far as the accessories go, he comes with pretty much everything. Of course, I would have loved to have gotten some blast effects, even if it was just for the feet, as that has now become something which is rather standard for Marvel Legends Iron Man figures, so it is a shame to see the lack of inclusion here with this figure. But I really like the unmasked Tony Stark head sculpt. I think that looks great, as well as the masked head sculpt. And in regards to the different arm attachments, they all look really, really awesome and can create for some fantastic photography as well as display options. I also think the articulation on this guy, for the most part, is probably the best we've ever seen, especially where those drop-down hips are concerned. And I'm really intrigued to see as to where Hasbro take that type of technology and implement it onto future releases. Of course, the Iron Man bodies just in general are a lot bulkier, and it really, really worked here. So it would be great to see if they could perhaps start improving the articulation on perhaps some of the larger figures, or maybe just some of the slimmer figures. It'd be really interesting to see how the rest of the line shapes up. But definitely this one here, if you like Iron Man, you're certainly going to want to add this one to the collection. I'd love to know down in the comment section below what you guys thought of this review. Will you be picking this figure up, any of the other releases coming out in this line, or shall you in fact be giving the entire Infinity Saga a miss? I thank you all for watching, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.